what, people? It's back. It's another episode of The Giants Guys. We are brought to you by Pickup. Make sure you go to nygiantsrush.com and play your favorite New York Giants props today. Happy New Year to everybody. Hope everybody had a, killer holiday season. Yeah, I'm sad it's over too, but hey, all good things come to an end. We're in the lab. I gave Michael Stewart, our draft expert, the day off. Spartan Mike is in there. And as promised, two-time Super Bowl winner, Leonard Marshall's in the house. What's up, Leonard? How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, fellas. How you guys doing?
Woo!
Doing great, man.
I'm excited you're here for a ton of reasons. One, I've never seen anybody smile as much as you. I mean, like you remind me of a guy who just loves football, man. Like
I love football.
I know. And I love that. I love that because some guys they're like, it was this, it was that. Like you played at the highest level and you seem like you still love the game today as much as you did when you were 20.
Let me tell you, when I was in college, my college football coach, who's probably the best defensive line coach in all of college football, his name is Pete Jenkins. I want you to Google him when we get off of this.
All right.
You'll see who I'm talking about. But he's coached anybody and everybody you can think of. He's coached at Alabama, LSU, the Philadelphia Eagles. He's coached everywhere. I got a chance to play for his best friend, Lamar Leishman, when I came here and joined the Giants. But when I was in college, Coach Jenkins said, Leonard, you like football so much. Every day I come here just to see you smile. Whether you're not somebody or not, you're always smiling. He goes, So that tells me how much you love this game. I said, Coach, I love it so much I play it for free.
Ooh. Well, I'm going to start off with the same question I ask all your teammates and all the former Giants. All right. One, you're from Louisiana.
Yes.
You play ball, at LSU.
Yes.
Then you get the call that the Giants are drafting you in the second round.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
What's it like when you show up? Is it excuse my French, but is it a holy shit moment? Or do you just like, hey, no big deal? Like you're going from Louisiana up to New York and you get off that plane or however you got here, you drove, like however you got there. Like, is it overwhelming for a kid from Louisiana to show up in New York?
I can honestly tell you it was really overwhelming because I was designated to be a first round pick. I was the fourth defensive lineman drafted in the NFL draft in 1983. And it was a 6-quarterback draft, which produced 3 Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Yes, it did.
And John Elway. And the entire time that I'm waiting there to get drafted, I'm getting calls from teams like the Chiefs, the Raiders, the Broncos, the Eagles, and other teams saying, if you're here on the board, we're going to take you. If you're here on the board, we're going to take you. And I got to be friends with, I got to be friends with the great Eagle defensive lineman who's in the Hall of Fame now, and he just passed away, Claude Humphrey. I got a chance to be great friends with Earl Leggett, who coached Howie Long and a bunch of guys at the Raiders, and he also coached Michael Strahan as a Giant. It was an oh shit moment when I got drafted by the Giants because, I'm saying to myself, okay, I'm going to a city like New York, 17 million people, 5 boroughs. I'm going to live in New Jersey. I don't know where. The beauty of it, I think that made it work for me was I had an uncle up here. My mother's brother lived in Harlem.
Okay.
So he kind of helped me transition and make things a little bit easy on me.
Whew, well, that's good to know because, like I said, we interviewed last year Dominic Hickson,
Yes.
and he says, I got off the plane in Newark and I told the cab driver that I was going to New York to the stadium, and he said, "Son, the stadium's in New Jersey. You're not going to New York." He's like, "I'm taking you from Newark to East Rutherford." He says, "Are you sure? I'm going to go play for the Giants." And he says, "You're fine, son. I got you. You're going to Jersey." So he's riding along, he's riding down, going Turnpike North, and he sees like, the skyline just hits you in the face. And he was like, "Oh man, I ain't in Kansas no more." So I can imagine, like you said, you coming from Louisiana, it's a big jump.
Well, the big deal was for my friends that were back in Louisiana, they said, Leonard, if you ever get into the city, just do yourself one solid. Don't go and look up. Because they say when they see you look up, they know you're a tourist, they hit you over the head and rob you. That was in the back of my mind the whole time I was here.
That's great.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. All right. So let's talk about your rookie year, because something like, so rookie year, you're playing with Harry Carson, you're playing with George Martin, you're playing with Lawrence Taylor. I mean, well, one is like, is it a little bit intimidating? Because I mean, these are like three of the most, feared players in New York. Now again, you're already a star player coming out of college, but like, I'm wondering, like, is it like a, hey guys, what's up? I'm here to rock and roll, or is it like a, whoa, I'm playing with these guys?
Well, my deal early on was I wanted to understand the landscape of the locker room. I wanted to understand who was who and what was what. I wanted to see who garnered most respect in the locker room. And as I worked my way around, I found that three of the players that had the most respect from the group and the nucleus were those three guys you just talked about: George Martin, Harry Carson, and Lawrence Taylor. So when you walked in our locker room, the old locker room, the lockers were like on each wall, and then there were a few lockers in between. The first locker you came to when you walked in the locker room was Harry's. The next one was Lawrence. And then I chose the third locker next to Lawrence because I wanted to watch how they moved around.
Okay.
So I learned how they moved around. I learned their movement. I learned how they approach meetings, how they approach weight training, how they approach conditioning, how they approached everything. And the main thing I took from it was watch them, but also watch George Martin, because George Martin is doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. So I took direction from those men. And I have to be honest with you, out of all three, George Martin was the guy who kind of carried the torch for me, because I didn't quite understand what the big draw was for a high round draft pick to come into an already successful group of guys on defense.
Sure.
Because we had no offense here.
Mhm.
Guys, I mean, 83, the offense was so horrible. Hell, Phil Simms wasn't even thought of as a starter.
No, they were still working with Bruner.
Yeah, we were still working with Scott Bruner, and we, and then we brought Jeff Rutledge into camp later in the season, and Jeff Rutledge came back in 84. But sticking with the script, we just didn't have an offensive football team. So those guys immediately got into my ear and said, Leonard, if we don't play good defense, we won't have a chance to do nothing. So the deal was me to try to fit in with them and try to become one of them.
Yeah.
And one of them being a guy who kind of was a guy who led by example.
How do you go from a half a sack your rookie year to 6.5 sacks to 15.5 sacks in 2 years? Like, is that a Belichick Parcells thing, or is that like a scheme that worked for you? Don't get me wrong. I'm sure you put a ton of hard work in. I'm not taking anything away from you. I was wondering though, like you're going to work hard anyway, but but you made a humongous jump from a half a sack to 15.5 sacks. Is that like a, do you put a little credence in the Parcells or Belichick, or is it just plain hard work?
A lot of it was hard work.
Mm-hmm.
We that off season in 83, the off season 84, Bill Parcells came to me before we started the off season training program, and he asked me what was the main thing I wanted to accomplish in the spring. I told him, I wanted to get a job because I didn't want to spend the money I earned. I wanted to earn more money so that I could take care of myself and stay up here.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to condition my body. So I said, 2, hopefully you bring in a real strength coach here. When he decided to do that, he hired my strength coach from college. The guy
wow. Wait, you said that and he went down and hired a strength coach from LSU?
He hired a strength coach from LSU by the name of Johnny Parker. Johnny Parker joined our football team in 84, and he asked me before he hired Parker, he said, if I hire this guy Parker, give me an example of what he did or what you think will happen. I said, 1 or 2 things are going to happen. Either guys are going to follow and do the program, or he's going to run their ass off. I'm telling you that right now.
Cool.
Because he did it at LSU. He would work guys and run guys till they puked their guts up and threw up, because we had a football team that partied when I joined the Giants. The Giants had a bunch of party guys. They had party guys on the offensive side of the ball and party guys on the defensive side of the ball. These guys would go into bar rooms and drink and smoke cigarettes, and some of them would smoke cigars, and they didn't have any regard for their body. You know, the younger players were looking at the same time, trying to figure out, how do I fit in with this?
Yeah.
And I was one of those guys. So I said to myself, okay, I'm going to do one or two things in the off season. I'm going to get myself a job, which I did, working at the Meadowlands at the racetrack. I'm going to go and work out in the off season program. And every morning, 4 to 5 days a week, there were 5 guys in our weight room: Phil Sims, Joe Morris, Zeke Mowat, myself, and a kid by the name of Kevin Belcher. And Kevin Belcher was a kid that we drafted from University of Texas, El Paso, who was going to be a center for the Giants. And Kevin ended up getting injured. Kevin ended up getting injured in a car accident out on Route 80 and destroyed his career. He broke his jaw, cracked his hip. He got hit by an 18-wheeler, flipped his Jeep, and his career was over. So we took a lot of pride from 83 in getting our ass kicked and getting mistreated the way we did, and being 3-12-1, to Bill Parcells almost getting fired.
Yeah.
And to players getting cut. You know, we got rid of Brad Van Pelt, Brian Kelly, Beasley Reese, all those guys, remember the party group now, all those guys were like,
yep,
they were being weeded out. And Parcells knew what he wanted. But I think he in 84, he put his foot down. He said, you know what? I'm going to do this my way. I'm not going to do this the way they want me to do it. I'm going to do it my way. And I think that's when guys took the attitude and adopted his personality. And that's why they, you found guys with that lunch pail attitude, like that workman's attitude. I'm going to show up with my chisel and my hammer, and I'm going to just chisel away at it. And I'm going to get better and get better and get better and get better. And I think that's what changed the landscape and the culture of our locker room, was that guys wanted more and they wanted better.
Listen, a half a sack to 15.5 sacks. I mean, that's wanting more, man. Like, I mean, that's putting in the work. And I was wondering, like, Belichick part of that mix too. I'm sure he was young at the time.
Well, Belichick was part of that because, Lawrence and I developed a pass rush scheme, and our pass rush scheme was a lot of tricks and games. We call them tricks and games in the NFL. Two-man stunts between the outside linebacker, the defensive tackle, or defensive end and linebacker. So Lawrence and I did a lot of that, and we did it very well. And teams had a problem with it. And when we saw that guys couldn't block it that we practiced with, we said, well, shit, if they can't block it, these other guys are going to have a hard time doing it as well.
Yeah.
And so if you go back and look, in 84, my second year in the league, Lawrence and I have 7.5 sacks in the season. Lawrence has, I think, 11.5 sacks in the season. Hell, between he and I, we have more sacks than some teams between the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a big deal for us. And then in 85, we come back. I'm defensive lineman of the year. I'm NFL defensive lineman of the year. I'm NFC defensive lineman of the year. And Lawrence is on to another Pro Bowl. We both end up in a Pro Bowl together, and we both make all pro together. That was fitting, but it was also indicative to the work that we put in with the young Bill Belichick, because Belichick had good vision for what he wanted, and he was an attention to detail guy, and he was big into football integrity. And when I say football integrity, do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, was his motto. And I was a guy who followed it.
For sure.
And Lawrence will tell you today, if Leonard Marshall was supposed to hit the B gap, you can bet your ass he's going to hit the B gap, he's going to blow it up, because that's just the way he plays the game.
Go ahead, Spartan Mike, jump in.
So I got this question, Leonard. It's a little bit out of left field regarding the offensive lineman that you played with on the Giants. You guys were such a stellar defense, between you and Harry Carson and Lawrence Taylor. Do you guys take any credit whatsoever in because you were so dominant in practice and constantly going against guys like Oates and Billiard,
Godfrey
and Jumbo Elliott? Like, have they ever said thank you because you must have made them better football players?
Oh, no doubt. Billy R was great, man. Billy and I were the best of friends. I would get him ready to play guys like Darryl Grant and get Brad Benson ready to play guys like Dexter Manley.
Yeah.
You couldn't find nobody to emulate Dave Butts. He just was too damn big, but we would get those guys ready to play ball, and they could like we would tell them in practice, if you can block us, pal, you can block just about anybody.
Yeah.
And I think the beauty of it was they wanted to get better. They wanted to be better. Carl Nelson wanted to be better. Oates wanted to be better. Benson, Godfrey, Ard, William Roberts. They all wanted to be better, including Damian Johnson. They all wanted to be better. And I think as a result of it, and the way that we practice, because keep in mind now, a practice with Bill Parcells is a lot different than what you see on the field now.
Oh, yeah. You boys could hit back then.
Oh, yeah. It was physical. And the guys got a lot out of that.
When I interviewed Carl Banks, he said, you know what? He said, he'd be that time of the practice, and he said, tight ends coach, was it Pope? I think it was.
Yeah, Mike Pope.
He said Pope would come over to him and he'd say, Carl, it's time. He says, it's time. He says, all right. And him and Bavaro used to go at it. And I mean, like crazy. He said that people would line up, stand around and watch those two go at it all the time. And when it was all done, Carl would say, hey, coach, how did I do? And Mark would be like, whoa, you set him up to do that? Because and then like vice versa, where I forget, the linebacker coach would go over to Bavaro and be like, yo, it's time to ring Carl's bell a little bit. You know what I mean? Then they would go at it. And Carl would tell me the story that where he sits in the booth at Giant Stadium, every year there's a couple, two older guys, right? One wears a Bavaro jersey, one wears a Banks jersey, and they sit down in the front row around the 48-yard line together for years. And he said every year he would take a picture with his phone and he'd send it to Mark, and he'd say, they still love us, man. They still love us. Because that was the bond they had. Like you just said that you were really good friends with Billy Yard, because you go at it with a guy long enough, it creates a whole different type of respect.
Oh yeah. And it was like that. It's like that today with me and William Roberts. William and I like that. Bob Cratch and I like that. A good bit of the guys are like that.
Awesome. Leonard, go ahead, Spartan. You got another one?
Yeah, I got this question. I know you guys were such an improved group in 1984. And you already touched base on a lot of things that changed, first of all, in the locker room, the players themselves and whatnot. But what about, Bill Parcells was almost fired. Was there anything that changed in his coaching style going into the next year? Because if Judge is going to stick around till next year, I hope he changes his coaching style.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, the thing that I remember about Bill was, and like I said before, in 83, he did it the way that they wanted him to do it.
Okay.
84, he did it the way that he wanted to do it. And he flat out said it to the players. He said, and if they don't like it, they can run my ass out of here. But if they run my ass out of here, they're going to run a lot of you out of here as well. And the players took heed to that. And the players said, we're going to fight for this guy. This guy Parcells seems like the kind of guy that we want to play football for. He seems like a winner. We believe in his leadership and his guidance, and we believe in what we're being taught in this locker room. And I think the beauty of it was when we went into camp in 84 as a football team, we went in there with an agenda. We had a great draft. We drafted Carl Banks and William Roberts in the first round.
Yep.
We went into training camp up at pace with the idea that we're going to put a better product on the field. And we're going to create a nostalgic fan base and a culture in this locker room that's going to be of winning. And we took that into the playoffs against the Rams.
Yep.
84. And I think, a pivotal play in the game was the play I made in the playoff game to win the game when I tackled Dwayne Crutchfield behind the line of scrimmage on a fourth down play that they were going to give the ball to Eric. They were supposed to give the ball to Eric Dixon, but the formation dictated that it was going to be a play that featured Crutchfield.
Yeah.
That football play was indicative of what our season was. And our season was about buying into what Parcells was teaching offensively and what Belichick was teaching defensively and what they were doing collectively as a group.
Yeah, you need to buy in, right? You definitely need to buy, because like to Mike's point, there was a switch that got flipped there somewhere along the line, that 84, 85 season where everyone was like, hey, we can do this. Let's buy in and go for it.
I mean, winning breeds confidence. And I think that when I look at this football team that the Giants are putting on the field now, I don't see anybody, I don't see a sense of urgency. I don't see a competitive edge. I don't see guys trying hard enough. And I damn sure don't see the greatest thing what you just talked about, Craig, which is effort. I don't see effort. I don't see effort. I don't see effort on either side of the football, especially in the defensive line play.
Well, hold that thought though, Leonard, because I'm getting there, because this is literally going to be a segue into right what you just said.
Okay.
So you retired, okay, and you can look back on those years of you, Banks, LT, of course, Harry Carson, there's Van Pelt and Kelly and Pepper Johnson, and there's just ball players, right?
Ball players.
But they didn't lose that flair for drafting those guys. And I wrote it down so I didn't forget. I mean, after you, there was Strahan, OCU Minora, Jason Pierre-Paul, right? JPP, Tuck, Kiwanuka. Like, they still believed in the 90s and the 2000s what the 86 through 91 team had. All the way, regardless if it was Reeves, God bless his soul, maybe rest in peace, or it was Fossil, Coughlin. They still believed we need a pass rush. Look, Leonard, you don't have to know this, but I own I run and operate and own a pretty popular website called nygiantsrush.com. It is specifically called Rush after you guys, because that's what generates those championships. The offense, is going to get you to the playoffs, and the defense wins you the championships. I just rolled off 6 names for you. Okay. I mean, come on. These guys would be Hall of Famers on other teams, right? Their numbers would be retired on other teams. I mean, JPP still playing with 8.5 fingers. Right. So this last year, the Giants were in the middle of the pack with 40 sacks. Wasn't bad. They had Blake Martinez, which made a huge difference in the middle. Okay. Leonard Williams had a great year. What in the heck happened to investing in defensive ends and linebackers? Like this year, 2021, they are at 30 sacks. They are 10 sacks less than they were last year with almost the same team. The only guy, which again, I loved him, was LaDainian Tomlinson, but he wasn't a big sack guy. He was a run stuffer.
Dalvin Tomlinson?
No, I'm sorry. Yes, Dalvin Tomlinson. My bad. I guess the question is why don't the Giants believe in pass rushers anymore? It's almost like, we don't need it anymore. They got 4 trophies in the case because of pass rush. Tom Brady, 2 Super Bowls. I don't get it.
Exactly. And just like you say that, I don't get it either, because I've always been a guy, offense wins games, defense wins championships. You go back and look at my era and my run, okay? Number 70 was all in every game that the Giants won of any kind of value or credence. Number 70 was around the ball more than anybody else on our defense.
Ask Joe Montana. I'm sure he'll say the same thing.
I mean, if it's Montana, if it's the Redskins and Jay Schrader, if it's the Cardinals and their quarterback, if it's the Cowboys and Aikman, any one of these guys, they all will say the same thing. You know, hell, I had 3 sacks in Super Bowl 21.
Yep.
Johnny Elway.
But is it a philosophy? Like, where did it go? How do you like say after you draft, you know, Tuck and JPP, how does the entire franchise just abandon the pass rush?
How you abandon the theory? When I came here, fellas, the 1956-58 Giants was the one thing that I studied.
Okay.
I wanted to know who Cat Cabbage was, who Modulewski was, and who wore number 70. And I found out who my nemesis was in Sam. I got a chance to meet Sam. Sam became a mentor to me and a mentor to Harry. Okay? These kids don't know that.
No.
These kids don't know who we are. And the sad part, they don't even try.
No.
If you look at, and I heard one good thing from Leonard Williams the other day. I went on the Giants website. He said, the one thing I want to do, now that this is my 7th year in the NFL, I want to be revered and remembered like all the great defensive linemen that have played here. The Leonard Marshalls, the Michael Strahans, the Justin Tucks, the Osi Umenyoras, the Jason Pierre-Pauls, the Eric Dorseys, the George Martins, all the guys that came before me. I want my name and my placard in that stadium one day. Mm-hmm. I don't play for money no more. And when he said that, a bell went off and said, oh, so that's what it's about. How much money I can make, how much social media I can get, you know, what hot girl I'm dating, what hot car I'm driving, all that crap. Once they lose that attitude and get with what's happening on the field, that's when I think you'll see a different football player.
Yeah, Leonard, you talked about how you used to work at the Meadowlands racetrack back in the day. You know, it was a whole different ball game. Whole different ball game. I mean, I took a job in the offseason because I wanted to train. I wanted to be up here. I wanted to be close. I want the people to see that I'm serious about this, that I intend to play 10 years, 11, maybe 12 years. My goal was to play 15. I played 12. You know, I wish I could have finished my entire career here with the Giants. Unfortunately, free agency came, and I got tired of begging them to pay me money. Yeah. You know, now these kids are getting, you know, the money that we should have got to play the game. Sure.
You know, and again, they're businessmen.
Yes.
Which I don't resent them for being it, but sometimes I ask myself, like I hear in the announcer when a receiver doesn't, you know, lay out for a ball or a guy doesn't chase the running back down from the backside. Like I used to tell people all the time, I'm like, listen, I saw every snap Lawrence Taylor ever played, and you watch him for sacks. I said, you know what the coolest thing was to watch Lawrence Taylor do? Catch a running back behind the line of scrimmage from the backside. He'd come all the way down the line of scrimmage, and he'd pull George Rogers down from the backside. I'm like, ain't nobody that used to do it like him. And they'd be like, I don't even get it. I'm like, you know why you don't get it? Because today's player doesn't show you that. But
it's a double-edged sword, though, Craig. I mean, because you got to remember, too, I mean, there's a lot of times, especially the Giants, where they didn't re-sign a player and they go on to have great careers, but they simply just didn't want to spend the money.
No, that's true. But I will say, if you actually go, you know, I'm not encouraging you to do this, but most guys, right? Most guys that leave the Giants, not many of them go on and have all-pro careers. Because I think the Giants get a lot out of their players.
Well, it depends on where they are in their career. If you get a guy like, I know like myself, like at the end of my career, you know, had I not break my arm with the Jets would have made the playoffs.
Yeah,
Jets, the first time in almost 20 years that the Jets had made the playoffs. We were 8-3 going into the 12th game of the season. And I cracked my forearm in a game against the Colts. And the Jets turn around and lose the next 5 ball games. And they finished that year 8-8, and they don't make the playoffs. And the next thing you know, they fire Bruce Coslet. But that was a team that produced Ronnie Lott, Boomer Esiason, Johnny Jones at running back, Blair Thomas at running back, Marvin Washington, Jeff Lagerman, Mo Lewis, Marvin Jones.
They had some ballers.
Yeah,
He had the makings for a great team there.
Yeah, the Jets we would have won had we had the nucleus not get separated. Pete Carroll was our defensive coordinator. I mean, we had a good football team.
Wow.
I can't say that about my last stop in DC, but I think for the most part, what happens with players and when they leave teams after they've been there so long is you play with a group of guys and guys adopt your style. When you go into a new organization, until you get your fit and you learn the landscape of who can do what and how often they can do it, I think it becomes a little bit of a challenge to try to navigate your way in, because when you go to these teams like that, because of your success in the past, coaches tend to show you a lot of respect.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that when I joined the Jets, that when Ronnie Lott and Leonard Marshall entered the huddle, entering the huddle was 5 Super Bowl rings. Those guys respected that.
Yeah, sure.
They wanted that. So whatever I did and Ronnie did, they attempted to emulate that. If we played our ass off, they stepped up the game and tried to play their ass off as well.
There's this line from Justin Tuck. It's the day of the Super Bowl, and he's talking to the defensive group, and he says, Kiwanuka, you ain't got a ring. I got a ring. He's like, AP, wait, no, it was 2011. So he was going through all the guys, and he's like, you don't got a ring. I got a ring. You don't got a ring. I got a ring. You don't got a ring. Yeah. Yeah. He's like, I got a ring. You want to feel what it feels like to get a ring. So make today a day that you get your ring.
That's right. That's the beauty of it. And if you're a real player, Craig, that's going to resonate right in here.
You bet. And that's why I think Mike's question was so good about making those players better. Because I sit here, I've never seen the Giants play this bad collectively on both sides of the ball on special teams. And Mike's question is so good because I'm thinking, is Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams, like are they, I know they can't hit in the CBA and they can't do the same stuff, but are they making the line any better? Are they making those players on the other side of the ball any better? Because it doesn't seem like there's that fire and that look, you beat me up all week long. Now it's time to take it to the other team. There just seems to be no passion and no effort from these guys. So I appreciate, Mike, you asking that question, because I think Leonard alluded to it, that those offensive linemen on the 86 through those 91 teams, they got beat up by Lawrence Taylor, Leonard Marshall, Carl Banks, Harry Carson, Pepper Johnson. Yeah. I don't know if these guys are getting challenged.
Right. That's part of the deal. I think it's different all the way around, guys. Different era, different times,
different mentality,
different coaching techniques, different mentality.
Leonard, if you were in charge of the Giants, what would you do right off the bat this offseason? What's your first move? What would you do draft-wise? What positions do you think are biggest?
The first 3 players I draft, and I don't want to make this a racial thing, but I draft the biggest, blackest offensive tackle, the meanest son of a bitch that I could find to protect my quarterback.
Yeah, man.
I'd get me a pass rushing demon, somebody who, I try to trade for an Isaiah. What's the kid's name that with the Cardinals, number 9? Isaiah, I can't think of his name. Isaiah Williams? Is that his name? I can't think of his name. He played at Clemson.
For Arizona.
Yeah, he plays for Arizona.
Yeah.
I just can't think of his name right now. I like that kid a lot. I like his range. I like the fact that he can play all over the field. It reminds me of Carl a little bit with that, because Carl had that kind of range.
Yeah, he did.
He had that kind of range. I'd find me a player that could play like I did, a right defensive end that was tough and stout against the run, but that was limber enough to get to the quarterback.
Yeah, someone that can
Guy
bend.
that can pressure the quarterback's blind side. They don't have that.
No, let me ask you this then. On that note, I'm assuming you watch the games or occasionally?
Of course.
Well, what do you think? I mean, like, I know he's not as stout as you. He's definitely not as powerful as you, but he's a rookie. Ojulari was a guy. I mean, he's a little bit light. He's got to get it. He's got to get into that second year NFL lifting program. But Ojulari's a guy who can bend pretty good. Again, he's not as stout and powerful as you, but he seems like somebody that could develop.
Well, Ojulari is a player. There's a defensive lineman I like a lot. I like him an awful lot. His name is Hayward. He wears number 97. He plays for the Steelers.
Yep.
He plays a lot like I played.
Okay.
He's a great two-gap run player. He's also a pretty good pass rusher. He's got a motor that's at this level. I try to trade for a player like that. If he's a free agent, and I don't know that, in the scheme of things with Pittsburgh, I try to find a way to get a guy like that. I like the lineman from the Eagles, Cox. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I like him and I hate him at the same time because I'm tired of watching him do so good against the Giants.
Yeah, and you know what?
I like his style of play. I like the way his body's built. I think he'd be the perfect left defensive end in the scheme of things in the Giants 3-4. I think they need to get a badass nose tackle. I think they need to get a guy that plays like Jimmy Burt did, a guy that plays good with his hands, quick and efficient, a ball hawk, somebody who likes to be around the ball. We don't have that. The Giants don't have that.
No.
So I focus on the 3 and a pass rusher somehow, but I focus on the big guy side of things. I get me, like I said, a big, badass left tackle, like the tackle from Alabama.
You don't want Thomas to stay there? Andrew Thomas?
I'd like to move Thomas to the other side. I think I have bookend tackles. I think I'd have big physical guards, but guards that are physical, like guys that play the game like Russ Grimm did.
Okay.
From the Redskins. I'd like to get me a guy about 6'4", about 310, that just wants to be a bully.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought Richie Soyber and Chris Snead played a lot like that.
Well, they did. They did. And see, they don't have that.
No.
Cyber was that kind of player. Chris Snead was that kind of player.
I appreciate you saying that because, like, even if Thomas did move to the right, the kid from Bama, Neal. I mean, that dude is mean.
That would be a great pick.
I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, you got 2 picks in the first round. You can get Neal, and I don't know if you've had a chance to see him yet, Leonard. But have you seen that center from Iowa?
I've seen the center from Iowa, and I've seen the defensive tackle from Georgia. Number 9.
Oh yeah.
That's my man right there.
Those two
come out of retirement to coach him.
Seriously, those 2 cats are athletic.
I'm telling you, right, I would come out and coach them. Don't say that because that's a whole nother ball game. Like that's part of the issue that there ain't enough ball players coaching these kids. You know what I mean? I agree with you. But I think the Giants do that I think they do that, Craig, by design.
True.
I don't know why. You know that? I don't know why.
Like Deion Sanders seems to me like Florida kind of gets rid of him. He goes and does his thing. And I can see him bringing on guys that want to coach that didn't get a chance. Like, and I think that's cool. Like, I'm like sitting here like, you know what? I know we got guys that are in the media. Like some of our bigger guys have gone on to the media side, but there's some guys so we interviewed Chase Blackburn about 6 months ago. Right. And I told you he kept canceling and we kept missing each other. I chased him for a while. And, he's the special teams coach in Carolina. And we hit it off. He was going to give me 20 minutes because he just had left OTAs. He just drove back to Ohio. He was spending some time with his family. He's like, I got 20 minutes. We start talking football. It's an hour later. He's standing in the parking lot outside the minor league ball club where his boys are in watching the game, right? So I said, look, you've been awesome, Chase. Thanks. I said, I got to ask you. You got John Harbaugh. You got Joe Judge. I'm like, what's the next step for Chase Blackburn? He goes, I want to be a head coach in the league. He's like, I don't know if I'll get an opportunity, but I want to be a coach in the league. He goes, because I played the game. I know the game. I sleep and eat the game. He's like, so, and when I think about that, and like what you just said, like some of these guys need to either be given an opportunity that they're not getting, or they need an advocate. You know what I mean? Like a former player, like Dion, or someone to go, yeah, listen, you got to bring Ken Norton Jr. in because this guy knows it. Or we need more players coaching players, if that makes sense.
Now watch this. Now, Pepper Johnson, the last time the Giants were looking for a coach, interview with Judge, okay? Didn't he bring Pepper in for an interview?
No.
Bring him in for an interview. Pepper's got 5 Super Bowl rings.
Yeah, and he was like, I mean, he's seen and coached a lot of great games.
Pepper his team just won. The IMG football team just won the championship this year.
Oh, he's coaching IMG now, Florida?
Is he the head coach?
He's the head coach.
Wow.
And they didn't interview him, huh? Best high school team in the country, and they didn't.
So, all right. So let's wait. So what's really going on? Okay, we're opening up a can of whoop ass here.
Hey. You know what's happening.
I got you.
You know what's happening.
Damn.
Leonard, I got to ask you this, man, because everybody loves that 1990 NFC Championship Game Hit against Joe Montana. I think I would have to imagine he still sees stars from that. Let me ask you this.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you hit him, were you like, man, I really got him hard? Like, I know he's crushed because he didn't come back for 2 years.
I knew it. I knew it. And you know what's crazy about it is, it's legitimate football play. I slipped, a guy dove at my feet, and I never gave up on the play. But that was the kind of player that I was. I never gave up on the play.
Yeah.
I think when I left my feet and I dove to get him, had I taken my head and put my helmet 6 inches lower, the guy probably would never have had sex again because I would have broke his back. So I was cognizant of that and just trying to make it a clean football play, separate him from the ball. And I was hoping Mark Collins would have caught it and ran in for touchdown. It'd be one of the most dramatic plays in football history. But, luckily.
No, it's still one of the most dramatic plays.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt.
Have you ever talked to Joe about it?
I was going to say.
We saw each other at an autograph signing, and we talked about it for a second. And, he brushed it off. Great football play. Too bad, the outcome. My thing was, it was a legitimate football play. It was a critical play in the game. And, the game was lopsided.
All right.
It went one way or the other.
Do you have, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but I got to at least throw it out there. Do you have a picture like somewhere framed in the man cave or the office of that hit?
Oh, yeah.
All right. That's all I want. Because I'm like, listen, you've played some great ball, some great games, but that's like you said, that's like folklore, that kind of hit. I just wanted to know if you had it somewhere.
Let me see if I can bring this up so you can see it.
Hell yeah.
This is one of my favorite. I have 3 things in my man cave that I just absolutely go nuts for. This is one of them. Wait a minute. Let me see if I can pull it up.
Yeah, that was
okay. So
I can't imagine Joe ever wanting Mike to ever actually have a conversation about that. I mean, he was out almost 2 years.
Yeah, but respect though,
And you see this picture?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I can see. Wait, I see someone on the sideline. Oh, wait, I see LT sitting on the right. Yup.
And you see it. Wait.
Oh no, it went big.
Oh, let me see something.
Wait, hold it right there. That's good. All right. So wait, is that you, Carson, and LT?
That's right. That's one of the best pictures I have in my man cave.
But did the Giants give you that? Like, where'd you get the actual picture?
someone made that picture, and they made it for me to go along with my third All Madden team trophy in 1989, which is
Nice.
something that I
That's so cool.
cherish. Because if you made the Madden team, you know that's the first original Madden plaque that was ever given to a player.
Oh, look at that.
That's what you got when you made the All Madden team. You got that, and you got a sweatshirt.
That's cool.
From John, but the picture that you're talking about, the one that you inquired about, is let me see if I can find it. You know, and I love it because every time I go down there, I'm always reminded of this. Hang on, where are you? I know you're in here.
Because like I said, I don't think if I was Joe, I'd ever want to have that conversation again.
No. Let me see. I think I have it.
Leonard, you think while you're looking at it, you think Judge is coming back?
I don't know what to think on that. You know, it's so tough because the guy really, geez, you know,
I want to like him. I want to.
in the beginning, when this whole thing came out about him being the head football coach, I really saw, like, I like a lot of the things, the things that he was talking about, his wishes for the team really resonated with me. And it resonated with a lot of the players. And I don't know what happened.
It's been 2 years now, you know, and he's right. We all like the way that he talked at first, but after 2 years and being worse this year than last year, we're sick of it. You know, it's used car salesman talk.
The fan base hasn't had a winner in 10 years.
Yeah, honestly, God, don't know what happened because, you know, he talked like a young Parcells. I know he's cut from the Belichick cloth, and I've got a lot of respect for Bill. I mean, Bill was a great football coach, Greg.
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you, great football coach, Mike. The kind of guy that you want to go to war with any week. I don't give a damn who we played. Belichick made damn sure that we had the best game plan and chances to win. I don't give a damn who they could have put the 74 or the 77 Steelers on the field against Belichick. We would have whipped their ass. And if we didn't whip their ass, we'd have came damn close to doing it. That's just the kind of guy he was.
I was listening to XM and Charlie Weiss was on, and he was telling this story. And this is kind of coming full circle about the effort and making the in-game adjustment. You know, they had this certain game plan, and I can't remember. It was against the Patriots, and he said he came to it might even have been a preseason game for all I know. But the premise was that Weiss goes to Parcells and he says, "Hey Bill, this game plan ain't working." He goes, "Yeah, so what are you gonna do about it?" He goes, "I'm going to go up tempo, no huddle." And he says, "You think that'll work?" He says, "Well, what we're doing now that we practiced all week, every day, all the film, everything, none of it's working. So we need to try something different." He said they went out and scored a bunch of points because they adjusted in the game to try something different. You don't see anything change during these games. I mean, it's the same thing from whistle to whistle. And you're like, look, you're already bad. Take some chances, you know, push the ball vertical instead of horizontal. Like, just try something.
I know. That's why it's tough for me to watch, fellas.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, it's tough for me to watch.
Yeah.
I look at that patch on your sleeve, Mike. You're right, that Spider Lockhart patch.
Yeah.
Spider was a neighbor of mine before he passed in Mahwah, New Jersey. And and I asked Spider, what was the one thing that if you could leave me with one thing from your career, Spider, what would that be? And he said, "Leonard, know your history. Learn your history. The Giants are nostalgic for playing defense."
Yep.
My number was given to the guy who was drafted above you when you joined the team. I still don't know that guy. Now, this is 3 years into the league. He didn't even know Terry Kennard. He had no idea who Terry Kennard was.
Yep.
I got to know who Sam Huff was. I got to know who Rosie Greer was.
Yeah, man.
I got to know who Cat Cabbage and Modulewski were. I got to know who Andy Robustelli was. I wanted to know that because I wanted to know who came before me so I know what was I going to reach up to try to accomplish.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't see that with these players on the Giants today. I just don't see it, fellas.
All right, I'm going to have some fun with you here. Spartan, you got anything else? Because I'm going to go speed round for Leonard because I know he don't want to hang out with us all night.
Real quick, Leonard, I mean, what would it mean to you to just have a player, let's say we drafted a defensive end this year, or the Giants drafted, an edge rusher, and they pick number 70, and they reach out to you, and they say, hey, I am looking up to you. I would love to just go out and, have a beer with you and just kind of talk.
I'd mentor the shit out of him.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I would mentor the shit out of him. I would show him the birds and the bees of the organization. I would turn him into a leader and not a follower. I would share with him the same things that was shared with me when I came and joined the team. I got to know who Dick Lynch was. I got to know who E. Rich Barnes was. I got to know who Tom Scott was. I got to know who Jack Stroud was. I got to know who all these players were. I haven't gotten one phone call from one player in a Giant uniform in 20 years. A current player in a Giant uniform.
And you live in the state.
You're right around the corner.
Yes.
I mean, it would be different. I could say, all right, well, he lives in North Carolina or he went back to Louisiana. You live here. Dude,
before I moved to where I live now, I lived in Clifton, New Jersey.
Yeah, man, Route 46, Route 3.
There it is. So, and I'm always around the stadium. I was around the stadium before COVID, so.
Yeah, I don't, that's something I'm never going to be able to shake. I don't get, I used to say like, okay, like let's take Jesse Armstead. He was one of my favorite players, right? He was but when they had 9 rounds, he was a 9th round draft pick. If I remember correctly, I mean, 9th round. And this guy was like a multi-time Pro Bowler. Like, he made you want to wear a 90s number. You know what I mean? Like no, it was like 90. 98. And
you know why he was a 9th round pick?
No, actually, I don't.
Yes, it was character.
Okay, fair enough.
Jesse played high school ball at Carver High School in Dallas, Texas. And, Jesse had a controversial past that people tried to tag him with. He played at the University of Miami.
Yep.
And, I guess teams looked at him through a different lens. He proved he was better than that. He's a phenomenal player, phenomenal coach, phenomenal person, and one of my dearest friends.
Well, how come he's another guy like Pepper Johnson? Like, I know they bring him in as a consultant. He goes to camp. Like, why isn't he the linebacker coach?
Thank you very much.
Like I said, I hear you with Pepper Johnson, right? And I'm like, okay, I get that. But here's a guy, like I said, like Pepper's gone on and had some really great opportunities to do some great things. Like Jesse's like right here in your face. Like this guy did it when everything was against this cat, right? And I actually was fortunate. I can't remember the time of year, but it was on his birthday. He was still living in Texas, but he bought that car dealership. I want to say it was like All-American Ford or something like that. He was up here and I did it. I was working for CBS Radio and I had an Xbox competition and I reached out to his agent and he said, Jesse's going to be in the area. They're opening up a new store and so forth. And he came over. I mean, we took care of him, but he came, hung out all day, played Xbox with the kids. Just a really good dude. I mean, really good dude. Yeah. I mean, like to this day, one of the best guys I've met. And I've never really forgotten that. Like, okay, you bring him back every year to be like this consultant and this this training camp. Why not give the guy the job? I mean, it's Jesse Armstead we're talking about. And these are the kind of things that rub me. Like, I don't get the Pepper Johnson thing, but at least that guy went and succeeded without the Giants. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Tell you something.
Right, Mike? Am I off base for saying
No,
that?
not off base. Listen,
No.
and I'm going to be honest with you guys.
Rodney Hampton. Why is not Rodney Hampton part of the organization?
It's what I keep preaching and prodding about because I don't understand it. I wish I had an answer for you.
Yeah, I know.
I really
All
do.
right.
I wish I had an answer for you,
Right. No, listen, I don't want you to. Listen. We appreciate you hanging out. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. Man, Leonard, like I told you, I'm sitting on the 22-yard line, 22 rows up. Been there for a long time. Mike, what did I say right before he came on about this year against all those other years? What was it? What were we talking about?
No heart. They go out there and they got no heart out there. They go out there.
The way I played the game. You saw the way Lawrence played the game.
Yeah. Just one guy.
George Martin, Curtis McGriff, Andy Hedden, Carl Banks. I can sit here and name names of players.
I just don't get it. Like Judge was talking, punch you in the mouth, 60 minutes of hard work, something the New York Giants fans were going to be proud of. Well, I'm still waiting. You know what I mean? I'm standing in the snow and in the rain and I'm going, I don't get it. I don't get it. So I'm just, listen, this year we got a lot of guys to draft. It's going to be a lot of moving parts from now to April. And Spartan, we need to get a campaign going. Maybe about getting Leonard in the ring. We need to, you know what?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what? We're going to take that on.
Like number 53 said to me, Leonard, all the guys keep asking him in Canton, why isn't Leonard with you and Lawrence? The guy's career was right there with yours and Lawrence. Why?
There are things. One, let's just take at a minimum why you're not in the ring. Why on God's green earth do you not retire Harry Carson's number every time I remember when they gave it to Brandon Short. And I was pissed, right? And Brandon Short was probably a good dude. I got no problem, but I laugh to this day that Shockey kicked his ass trying to make him sing the Penn State fight song, and I wasn't happy that Shockey kicked the veteran's ass. I was happy because he got his ass kicked because he shouldn't have been wearing number 53. I'm like nobody should be wearing 53.
Right.
It's a slap in the face.
And just like they got an offensive player wearing number 70, they will never, and I'm going to say it on your show, there will never be another defensive lineman like Leonard Marshall in the history of the Giants organization.
I believe
There'll never be another guy again.
You know what? If you think about
not to do what I did,
all the stuff, like when you look, it's interesting too. If you really want to get into the weeds, your game completely different than Lawrence's game, which is different than Harry's game, which is different than Carl's game, which is different than Pepper's game. Like and if you want to throw Jesse in there too, because you guys always had great linebackers, but that's what makes it really cool. It's not like this guy's like that guy. It's not like that.
No.
You know what I mean? Like I could say Leonard Williams plays a little bit like Leonard Marshall, but you guys were all very, very different. That's what was really cool about it.
Like you guys all had your own craft that you just mastered, and it was like so unique, and that was what was fun to watch.
When do we get? We're in the 3-4 again. When do we get a badass TN to play? Like we sit around here, and I'm like, don't get me wrong. I thought Blake Martinez was a nice player. I still do, but anyway, all right. I'm gonna have some fun. I'm gonna have some fun with you. This is a speed round because we got to end on a good note.
Hell yeah!
All right. 10 questions, real simple answers. All right. Stadium you most hated to play in?
RFK.
Oh, really? I was thinking you were going to go. I thought you were going to go Eagles.
I thought you said that. Would have said that.
I would have said the vet. All right. RFK it is. All right. Favorite teammate and why?
Perry Williams, because he knew how to keep me calm.
Good. Spartan, you want one?
Yeah, sure. Here, I'm going to insert this wild one. A couple weeks ago, Giants give out a free medium Pepsi to all season ticket holders. What a great treat. Let me ask you this. What do you like better, Pepsi or Coke?
Neither.
All right. Fair enough. And here's an actual important question. Would you rather a sack or an interception?
Sack all day long.
Yeah,
All right.
baby. All right. Most intimidating, or let's say craziest player you ever played with? Like just a guy completely bonkers.
Kenny Hill, complete psycho.
Really? Kenny, the X-Raider number 48?
Complete psycho. Was a hell of a football player.
Hey, side note, I worked with Beasley Reese for years, by the way.
Okay.
I used to see him in the hallway. He'd look at me and I'd be like, I got you, 2-8. I got you. All right. Kenny Hill. That's so funny. I would have never guessed that in a million years. All right. Did you have any pregame rituals? And if so, what was it?
My pregame ritual was whatever Jim Burt was, I wanted to be. Because I took my tone from him.
What was he just balls to the wall? What made Jim different?
We both were really intense competitors, and I took my tone from him. If I could see the elevation of his intensity, it made it even more impactful for me.
That's cool.
I was an intense player. Because players will tell you my nickname was hard because I did everything hard. I didn't believe in practicing soft. I didn't believe in playing soft. Everything I did was hard.
Love it. I did that in college too, and I broke about every single bone in my body. Because I was a small white guy that hit a lot of dudes and just broke. All right.
What was your favorite training camp drill?
Wow. The 2-on-2 drill where Lawrence and I would go up against a tackle and tight end. And it was my job to try to break the tight end's neck because I wanted to teach him that when you come down to block a defensive end, you're going to get this forearm every time.
Yeah.
Oh. Is that a who's catching the forearm? Zeke Moat, Bavaro? Who's catching that forearm?
Every last one of them got it.
Awesome.
All right.
What about after the football game? What was your favorite food to eat? What was your favorite post-game meal, or what was your favorite place to go after the game?
Well, when I was playing back in the day, let me see. When I was playing, I was married to someone else, and her mother would cook for us. My first wife was Italian. My wife now is Italian. So I would actually go to my mother-in-law's, and she had this big Italian meal from clams on the half shell to veal cutlet marsala to some kind of pasta with a bunch of meat in it to fanook and a glass of wine at the end. So it was a 6, 7, 8 course meal.
You bring the boys with you or no?
No, I do me and my ex and her
sure.
and her family.
All right. Pranks. I know the NFL is always known for pranks. Anybody, what's the best prank either was played on you or maybe you played on somebody?
The best one that was played on me was my rookie year. Brad Van Pelt took my shoes. We had to wear suits on the road to go play. So Brad Van Pelt took my shoes and he hid my shoes from me. And I ended up wearing a suit with AstroTurf shoes. And it wasn't until we got on a plane that he actually returned my shoes to me. And I kept trying to find out who had my shoes. And Parcells had me threaten to find me. So when you're a rookie, you don't want to pay fine money out because sometimes when you're a rookie, it's back in my era, $1,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, and that was your fine for it. But Parcells was kind of jerking my chain because he went along with the joke. So joke was on me.
Got it. That's
great.
Funny. I'm thinking $1,000. They probably burn that in their fireplace now.
Right.
All right. Quarterback you love to sack. Just that one guy where you're like, oh man, I'm getting this guy.
Poor Ron Jaworski was just like, I guess I was the dog and he was the fire hose. Because Lawrence and I must have sacked him 15, 20 times in our career.
Well, I'm glad you said that. So where I live, in South Jersey, he lives here. He owns a bunch of golf courses here, right? And his grandson plays flag football with my son, right?
Okay.
Well, he did when they were a little younger. My son's 13 now, but when he was like 8 or 9, Jaworski's grandson and my son used to play in the same league. And I always, I'm always repping something, up here, right? He's sitting in the end zone with his wife watching the game, right? And I'm coaching a team. His grandson's team is going to play after our game, so he's waiting to come on the field. I'm coaching. I turn around to him and I go, "Hey, Joss." He says, "Hey, how are you?" I said, "I was thinking of you this weekend." He goes, "Uh-oh. What for?" He said, "Did you have a bad round of golf?" I go, "Nope." I said, "The NFL Network played the most sacked quarterbacks by the Giants defense." He goes, I thought I liked you for a second.
Oh, man.
Yeah. All right. Last one.
Actually, I got one more.
Go ahead, Mike.
You can ask the last one, Craig. Who's the toughest offensive lineman you ever had to go against in the NFL?
Jim Lachey from the Redskins and it was Clash of the Titans.
Okay.
He and I really had some battles, and I think the one thing that we both took from playing against each other is we both made each other better. Obviously, I won most of the battles.
Yeah, baby.
Against him, but
of course.
He was a hell of a player. I think if there was 4 tackles in the league during my era that they were the big physical, massive players. It was Lachey, Jacoby, Joe Jacoby, Jackie Slater, and probably Anthony Munoz. And those 4 guys will tell you whenever they came to play Leonard Marshall, they had to bring the A game.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Bring the A game.
All right. Last question, and then we're gonna let you go because I'm sure your wife wants to hang out with you. You don't want to hang out with us, but we're gonna bring you back though. We're practically neighbors, so you got to come back. Okay. All right, ready? Here it is. This is gonna be a hard one.
Okay.
Which Super Bowl ring do you like better, and why?
That's funny. I like both teams for 2 different reasons. I like the 86 team because it was the pinnacle of 3 years of work. Okay. And I mean hard work. 5 o'clock workouts in the morning, a lot of film watching, a lot of weight training, a lot of getting your ass beat up in training camp, a lot of guys trying to learn how to believe and trust each other. And I think the craziest thing that I could take from 86 was how tight we are today.
That's cool.
How tight we are today. How we're all a band of brothers. I can't say that about the 1990 team, but I can tell you the 1990 team is as close as any team could be and should be. It's just not as close as the 86 team.
I got you. Yeah.
The ring is probably the best ring that I have.
The 86 ring?
As a matter of fact, those trophies they're right over my shoulder here in my case. If you're going out, special occasion, I don't know what the occasion would be, wedding, maybe a reunion, right? You're gonna put the 86 ring on over the 91 ring? I'm gonna put the 86 team ring on.
All right.
Okay. Wow.
Like we asked a bunch of like I said, like even like David Deal was saying, he's like, they're big and they're nasty. He's like, but in true and it was unscripted. He goes, but in true Jersey style, he goes, I made mine a pinky ring. So he took the 2011 ring, and instead of it being like a regular ring here, he made it a pinky ring, and he holds his hand up, and of course he's got god awful huge hand. Yeah. And I'm like,
he's a great guy.
Yeah. Yeah. We've been Dominic Hickson, Blackburn, Kevin Booth was awesome. He works for the league now.
Tynes.
What's that?
Tynes.
Oh, Lawrence Tynes, Dave Tollefson.
Yeah.
We always try to, David Deal. I'm missing a bunch of guys right now.
You're missing Carl Banks, man. Come on, man.
Yeah, of course, Carl. We try to, we try to always bring them in and have fun. They're always really good guys. They tell us some fun stories.
Carl and I are very good friends, man.
Yeah, man. He's good. He's good to me. He gives me stuff to give away, starter jackets. He's like, Craig, when I make this new starter commercial, I'm going to give you the behind the scenes footage. Like Carl's always been really good to us. So, we are going to, folks, when this goes up tomorrow, I'm going to chop it up and I'm going to produce it up. We are going to start for the next 3 months, okay, to this technically season starts. Our opening day is kind of draft day, right? We're going to put a campaign together to get Leonard Marshall in the ring. We're going to be a little bullish on it. We've got some really heavy hitters out here in the media world because you know what? They pretend they don't listen to us, but they hear us when we don't show up.
They're going to hear us about this one.
Yeah, we're gonna do a little bit of that. So you're listening to another episode of the Giants, guys. Go to nygiantsrush.com. This will be up there tomorrow afternoon. It'll be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all those podcast platforms that you guys listen to, download, upload. Check us out. That's Spartan Mike. That's Leonard Marshall. Thanks for hanging out with us. And my biggest question is, can I bring you back?
You can bring me back.
All right, there we go.
All right, Leonard, don't go nowhere. You guys, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Tune in. Another episode of the Giants, guys.